Rumble ulti for 7 seconds and just die.
Yeah, yeah,
That
it's gonna be up to Zacian's Rumble. He's been so great on these carry champions. If he can get ahead and position those ultis well, it might be even more powerful for him to have multiple melee champions in his face as we're going
mhm.
to jump straight into game 2.
Yep. And looks like early game fan is going to be standard as usual. I am one of these fearless games. I'm almost certain in one of these later fearless games, game 3, 4, 5, we're going to see somebody come up with a level 1 strat. But for the most part, we're just going to fan out and be safe. Honestly, if I'm maybe it's just me, but if I'm Nautilus, I would have looked here to try and really, really get in the enemy's jungle. Oh, we are getting a little bit of a light invade just to get an idea of where the junglers are starting. From both sides, actually, because they see 2 people on blue side coming into red raptors, which means that red side has the ability to walk up to the blue raptors as well. Some slight trading onto Fumos from Zacian, which means that Fumos has thoroughly lost the lane, actually. They will never recover the damage from that single E.
Yeah, that single Electro Harpoon is going to make or break the lane. I think one thing we have to pay attention to is, I keep stressing this again and again, will Chungus go top lane? Because it seems like a lot of the time, Moths and Zacian are put on an island, and that kind of benefits Zacian because he's such a, more, proficient laner. So it's going to be up to them to really create advantages around this Rumble that's likely going to have a lot of push.
Also, I recognize this is something I should have talked about pregame, but Zach went back to base, bought a red string to sweep out that ward. I am really surprised to see him not go with the chicken start. I think one of the reasons to sweep out that ward so early rather than to save it for a gank is to try and get to top level 3, going chickens red, Krugs. But it is what it is, going with a more traditional 6-camp pathing here. And we're going to see a little bit of bullying coming out from Nautilus as they hit their level 2 first to get coupons, which is kind of to be expected. Milio isn't exactly a threatening character, and so usually that level 2 push is going to go Leona's way. And Aphelios is pretty comfortable farming from afar, so that'll probably stay how it is. That being said, Idgak is building up what appears to be a pretty comfortable lane for himself, as he allows, exactly, that lane being on his side of the river means that he's going to be able to farm significantly more efficiently than Sylas, quote-unquote, should in this lane, really showing us some of those mechanics that can make him such a good choice. And he's already going to find a really solid trade, taking half of Orchid's health.
So he just hits a great chunk on a Winter. Winter trades back with the Gatling and the auto attack, so he's already getting his potion, but Idgak has not, so it's going to be, a very aggressive look. Idgak going again, misses the chain lash, so a Valkyrie out there from Winter, but that is a lot of mana being used. One of the things that Riot did recently, I guess in the past year or so, was making the Valkyrie mana cost higher, so you can't get that in lane as much, for that safety. So it's going to be a very big deal if that means he's going to teleport earlier or not.
And a really important micro mistake from Winter on this Corki is when you're trying to get some of that trade damage back onto the Sylas, you really, really, really don't want to actually use your E, because it reduces the armor and health of the minions, which allows it to push into Sylas harder, which means he can stack up a bigger wave to slow push into you as he gets into your turret, which is exactly what's happening now. As Cryo goes his way, it's setting up his back with his jungler to look towards these grubs and potentially this top lane.
Yeah, speaking of top lane, we actually have a pretty even lane between Moth and Zacian, which I wasn't expecting because we saw Zacian being such a powerful lane bully, playing those very aggressive AP champions, and now on the Rumble, who is notoriously powerful lane bully. He's actually a little bit, he's actually even in farm, taking the worst end of these trades on the Rumble, so great job to Fumos for whipping out the game 2 Cassandra to really lock in and make it even so his team can play around it.
Yeah, and being 6 CS up with the minions on your side of the river in top lane is basically the end of the game, right? Like, that's how that works. I don't play top lane, but I think that's how it works.
Yeah, I think he's doing great. He still has a potion and his biscuits, but we see Frozen Haze looking for sweeping the Pixel Brush and maybe looking for a gank, but no, Fumos unfortunately misses the cannon.
Yeah,
but Zacian continues to shove out, meaning Fumos is pretty safe, as we see both mid laners have expended the Summer Spell Teleport. It's going to be the Dark Seal for Idgak and the Amtome, and just the boots and Tear of the Goddess for the Corki. So the Corki, you know, again,
Ooh, big root.
a little bit of a lead in terms of farm, but I think Idgak is very happy to scale up alongside this Corki because mid-game defense will likely be a lot stronger.
Yep, I agree. As long as the Corki is not dying,
He dropped the Equalizer, and Kumov he just uses the Pathmaker to get out of there, so the overheat means Zacian doesn't get a lot more done, but I think Zacian's going to use that ult to push out the wave and take a recall.
Yeah, and Fumoth's position here, it doesn't look advantageous because of his HP pool, but the fact is he's hitting 6 without having, like, completely given up anything, or without giving up anything in lane, honestly. He's going to be even on CS. He's going to be even on kills, obviously. Maybe down half a plate, but just being... Oh, wow.
Not even half.
Yeah. And if he had... frankly, not to hate on Fumas, but if Fumas had insta-recall, he would have been able to walk the lane and have TP advantage over the Rumble as well. And even here, just trading TPs is totally fine if he feels like it's worth it for the state that the lane is going to be in, which is to say everything.
Yeah, it looks like they're rushing Negatron Cloak again into the, this evolved item. I can't remember for the life of me what it's called, but the upgrade.
Hunting guys.
Yeah. Oh, no, sorry, no, the Negatron Cloak is the no magic mantle upgrade, sorry. But
Yes.
yeah, you would likely think that they would go for the Haunting guys, which infuriates me a little, but I mean, it doesn't matter because he is even on farm against this Rumble, which Zacian has been the guy to take over the game, so if he's even, I think they're very happy.
Yeah, and this could be a little bit of Zacian recognizing one of the quote-unquote mistakes that we made. Or not Zacian, excuse me. This could be Fumas kind of recognizing one of the mistakes we did last game, which was building a dual resist and a full armor item that's like triple magic damage. Recognizing that Zac is magic damage, Rumble's magic damage, and Corki is split damage. And frankly, mostly magic damage at this point in the game means that he can go for a hard magic damage item that builds out a Negatron Cloak immediately. That being said, there are also split items that build out of Negatron Cloak, so that remains to be seen.
Yeah, one thing I do want to... unfortunately, Corki doesn't do a ton of magic damage anymore. I think it's just the Gatling. Mostly
oh, really?
Yeah, they changed the Missile Barrage to be physical, as well as his auto attacks and total damage, so not a ton there, but I think it's great against the Zac. And the Rumble, like you said, Zac does a lot of magic damage. One thing I do want to point out is that the first Dragon went over to Nautilus uncontested a couple minutes ago, so it's going to be another game where early Dragon Stack is a big deal as King Rolly is just here to piss off Idgak with the stun there, stopping the recall. And yeah, I think all the laners are happy to just slowly scale. I think the fact that no significant ganks have happened does benefit the Xin Zhao a little, as we see a slight farm lead for them. Just even played one with Idgak, Winter's laying down the damage, but Ferris is here to give them the campfires for the heal. So Idgak actually stole the Solar Flare, so we'll have a pretty big ultimate next fight if he can land it.
Yes, of course. I think that's actually one of the reasons why he's back in front of the Leona, was to get in range of the Solar Flare. Maybe that's a little bit too big brain, maybe I'm giving him a little bit too much credit, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was his And this is just... Oh no!
That's Frozen Ace, the easiest last slingshot out, and that's going to be the first grub secured by Bootbam, so they're going to use the smite for that, but they're all in position. Slowly jumps in, which is blasting the front line as Bootbear is caught out. Fumas uses the all-out to get him away, as Frozen Ace is still on top of the Milio, and he goes down, so a huge Solar Flare gets him dead center, as that's a 2-for-0 in the river for the Grubs fight. So a beautiful equalizer followed up by the chase down from Nautilus. They're going to secure these next 2 Grubs.
Critical spot to miss the Solar Flare from the Silas there. Ultimately allowing the Zac to re-engage before they can really get a ton of advantage there. It would have been significantly more effective, obviously, if they were to kill the jungler. But that just wasn't the case. Nautilus really turns it around, recognizing, like, hey, without the Silas ulti, we're probably advantaged in this team fight, especially when we have 3 really powerful ultis up right now. Excellent Rumble ulti from Zacian really seals the deal there. Trapping Food Fam on that ticking damage is just more than they can really handle at this point in the game, and frankly more than they'll be able to handle for most of the game. Rumble ulti is not something you can just walk through for free.
Agreed. I couldn't agree more, Kazi. I think that them choosing to walk through that choke point and Moss wasn't there to create space and keep the Rumble out was a huge, factor in how Nautilus won that fight. But I guess it's not too much gold in the hands of Nautilus. It's only about an 800 gold lead. Zacian's a little bit further ahead, and so is Winter. But Idgak's able to keep up, only one wave down in farm. But we're going to have to see them really pick up in these mid-game team fights because, like we said before, these skirmishers, really benefit at that mid-game.
Yeah, for sure. And like, it doesn't have the most powerful early game comp, but especially after last game, you really don't want to be losing your lanes like this. And maybe the most glaring part is that the one character they did pick that should have a significant early advantage, which is Idgak Silas in the mid lane, right now just really doesn't. And that's going to really hurt them when it comes to these mid-game fights. We already saw it be really poignant in that previous Grub fight. The fact that he just wasn't powerful enough to be able to take out any of the members on Nautilus effectively. Obviously, Silas isn't exactly a character that's going to one-shot before a few items, but even then, he just needs to do enough damage to be able to make it in order to get position and create space for the rest of his team. And right now, he's just not capable of doing that with the way his items look. Even losing trades to Winter in the mid lane because Winter has that extra kill, which is giving him just that little bit of gold he needs in order to neutralize the spend that he has for tier, which is going to allow him to trade back pretty effectively on the Silas, which is the major of the lane.
Just because Corky's a scaling pick doesn't mean you can underestimate him early. He had the full combo of the Boss Bomb and the Gatling Gun onto Silas, so he's looking to be happy to scale, and hopefully Winter can have a great game this game compared to Swain, which was kind of set far behind. You see Fumoth going aggressive, misses the Pathmaker. It's actually a nice sidestep, but Fumoth is getting burnt down by the Flame Spitter, but it's still a pretty even lane. Both, I guess Zacian's a bit of a farm lead, but I don't know if they're going to keep fighting here. Fumoth is letting out advantage.
There you go.
Arrow into the slingshot. Doesn't guard the alive for now. Yeah, in the middle of all of them. Fufong gets a huge Calibrum ulti. And they're hitting down the Zelda dude. But Zacian TP's in. Fufares can't kill these walls fast enough as Fufong's getting ripped apart by the Equalizer. He gets melted. The TP's off the plate and he just runs to his death as Frozen Ace is on top of him. Zacian is burning him alive as the Gatling Gun comes out. An all-out hits one person. A flash out to John's the next Pathmaker as Winter's taking low, but he's fighting it out. Fumoth hits the Q3, but it doesn't matter. It's going to be a clean score for Hero, and that means the second dragon goes to Nautilus as the Rivers run red.
And that's just another example of how valuable that Rumble is when it really just lands on top of your entire team, right? Because like we see there that Fufair was fighting from a relatively advantage, trying to clean up those Zac problems, and then suddenly the fight's over. Rumble hit 4 people with an ulti. They're all taking 300 plus damage. There's nothing they can do in order to win the rest of that fight. Frankly, Cassante just isn't a character that affects fights like that. He does have his own very important things that he can do, but in a completely different fashion. And when it comes to those fights where you're looking for priority and tempo, especially over Dragon in this early to mid game, that Rumble OP is just such an effective tool to get your team into positive
but Winter flashes over the Stolen Solar Flare. He just jumps on top of him with the Gatling and gets the kills. The bullets fly to their target. Idgak goes down 0-2 in this early game.
And this is the kind of performance that like really shows us like why Winter is one of the people who we wanted to watch in these games, right? Is because like we were anticipating Winter, especially with his history in champion pool, or anticipated champion pool, just not having potentially the depth to be able to go with Idgak and what he's shown us so far. But Winter is clearly proving us wrong. Sidestepping almost every Silas engage that he tries to put out. Obviously, the CS lead is huge, but the fact is Winter has been in significantly more teamfights, significantly more impactful than Idgak has, and he's using that advantage to now bully him out of lane because he's going to have 2 items pretty quickly here within maybe the next 2 or 3 minutes, and Silas has just finished his first one. And the 2 items fight for Corky is pretty major.
He actually dodged the Enchanting Crystal Arrow, gets the Moonlight Vigil for a solo kill. The healing from the Moonlight Vigil keeps him alive, and it was a nice fancy footwork that kept him out of the stun. So nice solo kill, bringing back a little bit back for Fufons.
So this is kind of a similar game state to what we saw last time, but flipped. Fufon is this time a little bit behind, but has one character who they can definitively play with, this Aphelios, being even/even slightly ahead of this Ash. And frankly, just with the way those characters are designed, you're not supposed to be really dueling right there if you're Ashe. Aphelios is a character that can easily liaise into the late game. Can definitely carry these fights like virtually 1v5 as long as he has the reasonable amount of healing, gets his other attacks off. But Nautilus is looking phenomenal right now. It is looking really hard for Foo Ferrets to win almost any fight, even the ones involving Aphelios, because Aphelios hasn't gotten to the point where he's seen real spikes, even though he does have a slight lead.
Right, so now it's going to be a 5-man posture around this glove. So Frozen jumps out with the elastic slingshot, and the equalizer only hits one
terrible equalizer.
A huge group of means, but it's the solar flare actually, but the all-out goes in the middle of 5 people. Frozen Ace, the rapid pipe was not enough to keep Fumos alive, and Jack has to run for the hill. Zach Bear's laying down the damage. Frozen Ace is another elastic slingshot, but he gets the pull back in with the Q. They barely have enough damage to get the kill as Zacian fries him with the flame spitter. This Oblivion Orb is putting in work, but that's another clean 2-for-0 for Nautilus, as it seems like two fans just didn't know where their team fight was. Yeah, and right now we're really seeing the downside of making me think like Silas, right? As excited as I was to see the characters, when you pick stuff like the assassins or the skirmishers, you really do need to find advantages for yourself within lane or within these early fights, or else you're just kind of useless when you get caught on vision. Silas getting spotted out there on the side bush meant that he wasn't able to actually get in and do any damage. He just kind of died for free, despite an excellent all-out coming out from Fumos that could have potentially, that frankly created what could have been a really advantageous landscape if the team wasn't so split, or if Silas was there in the right position at the right time. Yeah, it felt like they really had a posture to fight that, but Fumos got a little too aggressive, bolted over the wall. We saw Chungus use the aggressive guard very early in the fight, meaning it barely got any ton. I think Frozen Ace was never really in any danger there. Foo Fam just have to really think about their target selection and focus down this Corki and Rumble, because if they keep hitting the front line of Nautilus, they're just going to get absolutely obliterated by the damage dealers of Nautilus. And it's not just the target selection, right? Because it's really easy to get on the same page about target selection and say, hey, we need to kill the Corki, or hey, we need to kill the Rumble. But it's really more about coordinating, right? It's really more about, okay, not only do we need to kill the Corki, but when Corki is in this spot, Silas needs to be here to capitalize on this all-out ulti, right? When Fumos is going in, Silas needs to be close enough to be able to dash in and follow up on his engage. When the Silas is getting caught out, Milio needs to be alongside him to be able to peel reasonably. And right now we're just not seeing that kind of coordination that frankly we've actually come to expect from Foo Fam over the course this season. We're one of the better doing that. And for some reason it's kind of falling apart here. Cypher interrupted, but he is getting caught as he has the flapper on the wall. The Crescent guard keeps him alive for a little bit, but Zach Bear is there to kill him. Shoots him in the back with an arrow as Fu Chungus just got a little too aggressive without his team. We saw him jump in there, but he had to fight because, like we said earlier, he has no escape from the elastic slingshot. So it's going to be another kill for Team Nautilus. They're now 11 kills ahead of 2. So you see, an interesting Rift Herald drift backwards. But that means they're just going to get this Dragon Soul point uncontested, as I don't think they have the members to fight this, as they have no jungler.
Yep, absolutely, I agree. Just a really solid capitalization from Nautilus. Sometimes you find a pick in the enemy jungle when you're strong, you're just looking for wards with you 3 in anticipation of a dragon coming up. Now, obviously, Chungus doesn't really have the luxury of carrying around a commissions of support in his pocket, so it's a little bit hard for him to get out of that situation. Just a good proactive play from Nautilus that they ultimately get a little bit of an outside reward for, just because of Zach.
But the TP is coming out. Fumos is here to back up his team. He goes for the Zag and he gets stunned up. The channel hits. We see the elastic slingshot go on to Idyak as he's trying to heal up with the Kingslayer. He has got him stuck misses. And he's in the front line, but now all of Nautilus is in the mix. They're gonna get the 2 kills early as this Silas is not having the game he wanted, as well as Fumos also getting ripped apart. So 0-4 for both of these solo laners.
That's a good place to throw.
From the Zag as he goes into the cell division, but they're gonna keep diving as King Rolly is on top of Fu Chungus. Can this Fufons turn this around as he's looking? He has the red and white don't fight. He used the Moonlight Vigil to keep him alive a little bit longer. Zach is under the turret. He can't get the kill on Chungus, but they're going to get the turret, so it's a 2-for-4 trade. Oh my god, the Enchanted Crystal is just right as the flat rocket comes out from Winter. That's going to secure a clean ace for them, as well as the bot lane turret. I think it was a valiant effort from Fufons, but he couldn't do enough by just in the 3v5.
And as the gold lead balloons and balloons, the Nautilus is going to be able to take more and more quote-unquote risky, which is to say fights that require a little bit more priority and tempo, and they're just not going to be able to get punished for it because the response is too behind. 5k gold lead at 20 minutes flat is not necessarily insurmountable, but it's definitely a lot, especially when you look at where that gold is distributed, right? You've got 2.6k extra on a mid laner and 2.86k extra on a jungle. Those are characters that really important to hitting second and third items, with both of them having extra points, and they're just going to be able to take the auto which is something that usually fails away too. Oh, it's a huge ulti!
It's a huge! Got a kill instantly on back there. Fufans is in range, but he can't get the steals. He has red white, that means don't fight, as it's a flash out from Frozen, or sorry, not Frozen Ace, but King Roly. So it's going to be a kill traded over for the Otacon. I don't think it was a shutdown, but I think they're going to look for more. It's going to be 5 people in this bottom lane. They're looking for this turret, but the equalizer goes down to clear out the wave. So no objective bounty being picked up for Fufan, but it was a nice look to know that the Otacon was there. So a great ulti from Idyak to secure that kill. We need to see more of that from them.
And really just an unfortunate spot to be for Fufan in terms of not being able to capitalize on what was an excellent play coming out from Idyak there, finding the backline and being able to land almost everything. But sometimes your team just isn't ready. Sometimes you just take what you can get and you walk away with it. They'll take the shutdown. They'll take that kill. But ultimately, losing the Otacon, I wouldn't call it a trade for the Otacon, but losing the Otacon and only getting a kill out of it does not feel the greatest. And Idyak's going to get stunned up here by King Roly.
Melted down by the arrows. He has this stolen ulti, but Zactor is keeping his range as Idyak's trying to heal as much as he can. A nice angle for the ulti, but King Roly's base tanking it. King Roly's now by Fuchungus as the backup has arrived. The Crescent Guard doesn't get the kill out. Wimper comes lightning missed it. Idyak tries to go for the kill, and he gets too crazy with it. He gets the chain lash, but he does not get the Kingslayer or the Abscond Abduct. The Abduct hit a minion. Get down, Mr. President, as Zac there and King Roly limp out of there alive, and this likely means they're gonna have control over River for the Dragon.
Yep, exactly. Huge spot for Nautilus here, getting another tempo play for this Dragon, finding another pick on the Idyak. Idyak ultimately having one of the worst performances of the season that we've seen from him so far. And right now, I really don't see a way for him specifically to get back in the game. But Aphelios is still sitting on like maybe 1,000 extra gold, and they're gonna try and play through him, I would assume. If Idyak can clean it up and just serve as a like backline engage as the game goes on, he'll eventually have enough damage to start really one-shotting those backline carries. It's just that the more and more that we see fights like this, the less and less certain I think
the flash Pac-Man there into the all-out. Winter is getting jumped on by 2 members. He tries to turn around, gets the 1v2 solo kill. Fuchungus misses the Wind Become Lightning, but can the auto attacks kill him? He finally gets it with the audacious autos, but now Frozen Ace and Zac Bear are here. Fuchungus is trying to fight for his life, uses the Crimson Guard, tries to keep him alive a little bit longer as the TP comes up from Idyak. He jumps on a Zac Bear, but King Roly is here to back up his boy. That's a 1v3 for Idyak. He tries to jump out with the Proto Bell and the Abscond Abduct, but Zac Bear duped with the fancy feet, dodges the solar flare. Idyak cannot get any damage onto this Ashe as he's just kiting with the fancy feet, and it's a 2-for-1, sorry, a 3-for-1 in the top lane. The gank on Winter is successful, but it comes at a heavy cost.
Can't be doing that. Can't be doing that. Can't be walking into the enemy team like that. Can't be TPing into the enemy team like that. You have to recognize where you are in the game and concede some of these outer objectives in order to maintain a little bit more safety behind your second tier turrets, and maybe you ward up your jungle just a little bit.
Yeah, I think that safety is going to come back to bite them, as it's going to be Ocean Dragon Soul being picked up uncontested from Team Nautilus. We saw them have such early prio on the Dragon that they get a very early Dragon for like 24 minutes. So if they were unkillable already, they're going to be even more immortal now.
Absolutely devastating. Ocean Soul is one of the better souls for your team to have, because it's just gonna, well, really honestly, anything except for Cloud Soul is excellent for almost any team in team fights, just because they now innately sustain themselves as they fight, and they're going to be able to put that in harder. And that is one of the things about the team, is that like you look at it and you say, oh, this team doesn't really hit turrets like super well. Now they do, just because they've been built for so dang long.
Yeah, living long is now part of the game as we see 4, 0, and 11 on Frozen Ace. He is having a spectacular game at 3 items now. It doesn't really feel like that much of a gold lead, but he is very far ahead. And we see 8-1 and 8 on Winter. He's almost finished his 3rd item game before Dominic Bernard. So now both of these, the entire top side, like you said, it was the top side of Nautilus that had to do well to win these games, and they are doing superb in this second game, looking to close out the series.
Yep, for sure. And as the game goes on, if it continues on the trajectory, Nautilus is going to be able to close it out pretty quickly. But FuFam does have hope. Again, 80 carries kind of online. Their jungler isn't exactly behind. Well, not that behind. But a 14 kill deficit is going to be hard to deal with. That being said, the gold lead hasn't actually changed over the last 5 minutes. And gold leads get relatively smaller as the game goes on. We are getting to the point where FuFam is going to start hitting these 3 and 4 item spikes. 3, 4 item spikes are going to be, well, frankly, they just scale better, right? So 5, 6 item spikes are obviously the best spikes, right? But they just want as much gold as possible. The longer they get prolong this game, the better. But the game is just going to contract more and more if they continue to get caught out. It's to the point where they probably need to have a buddy system to walk around the map.
Buddy system indeed, as they're just going to A-ram it with 5 from the mid lane. I'm not sure really what they're going for. I see Idjak taking the Solar Flare again. I would have liked to see him take something like the Equalizer or something like the Zac ultimate, the Let's Bounce, to, be a little bit more disruptive in the team fights, because we haven't been seeing him land many Solar Flares. So we see Fu Moss also not even at 2nd item yet, so he's very behind in the pace of the game. It's just a huge gold deficit as well as the Ocean Soul. I'm not sure if FuFam want to take this 5v5, but they're fostering for it. Seems like the calm before the storm continues to be calm.
I'm just looking at it.
But
they're sneaky. Oh no, they blew it. Ah, whack. That was a death push. I love death push.
Probably good. We see a Solar Flare. He's taking so low, but now Silas in the mix. He's taking so much damage. Rotates in the middle of the
taking a lot as well.
Eric's in the middle as well. And it just goes down. Chungus actually tried to use the Crescent Guard, but he forgot if you're in melee range, you still take damage. It gets blown up by the Corki at 3 items.
Loaded, yeah. And Zacian is still just going to be able to hold off most of this wave by himself. This is one of those critical points for having Ocean Dragon Soul, because they're now healthy enough to just do this Baron. Even though they lost a bunch of health in that fight, theoretically, they just have it all back already. FuFam is looking to try and get... This is a good TP. This is a good Deathbreaker fight. If you are going to take a Deathbreaker fight, it should be this one.
He has no heal or cleanse. As we see Idjak in the backline, Fufair dies. Zac Bear just fires back on the platform and kills him where he stands. Fufon's doing best to fire back, but Fu Moss is not doing much this game. He uses the Pathmaker out, but it doesn't matter as King Rolly follows him to the grave with the Zenith Blade. It is a sweep. No one on the team of Nautilus is even close to dying as they go for this Baron. The Ocean Soul keeps them healthy, and the items keep them winning the fight.
Yep, Zac Fair getting chunked out there on the back line, ultimately not dying, able to heal up off the Ocean Dragon Soul. Chungus not really being there to be effective at all. Frankly, it's just, I'm willing to say, at this point, the game is pretty unwinnable for FuFam blind. All Nautilus needs to do is pace it out, maybe get some lane shoving in the side lanes. Once they take their first inhibitor, they transition to the opposite side of the map or side lane if that inhibitor is mid, and they'll be fine from here. There's a lot of standing gold on this map for FuFam to take, but I don't see them ever having enough tempo to be able to even force down either of these mid or top turrets here. I think they're going to have trouble farming their own jungle with the amount of vision that Nautilus has. I think the Nautilus can just slowly choke them out. They have enough of a lead to where they can afford for the game to go on a little bit longer as they kind of hit that 10k mark. They just need to make sure that they don't throw it away all at once.
They have the Ocean Dragon Soul. They have the Baron Nashor buff. And in 1 minute, it will be the Elder Dragon, which FuFam have to fight for, but they are at a nearly 10k deficit and down an entire Ocean Soul. That is 4 straight dragons as well, so they have nearly nothing in terms of stats. They're not even on their 3rd item yet, as Zac Fair and Winter are working on, just Winter is working on his 4th, so it is going to take, like you said, Kazi, a miracle for FuFam to win this game. The Zap
And
is unkillable. The Rumble is frying everybody. And it's just going to be the Baron buff knocking down the tier 2 turret. Can Fu Fam do anything to run back this series?
I mean, yes, they can, right? They can find a pit behind the Elder Dragon, translate that into an Elder Dragon. That will give them prio on the or tempo. They'll have to find another pick in order to take a fight. Even with the Elder Dragon, I don't think they can win a straight up 5v5. But I mean, as usual, the solution's always going to be picks, but it's so hard to make picks when the enemy has full vision control. Nautilus has elected to play towards bot side with the vision of the entire jungle towards Pika. Just because they feel safest doing that. That is a perfectly feasible macro play. This is going to give them the ability to potentially dodge some monsters.
The all-out getting through the tower, but he's stunned up. The Pathmaker, even though he's all-out, does nothing. He goes in the backline. He's trying to kill Zac Fair, but it's not enough. Buffon uses the Infernal Ultimate, and it hits only the front line as King Rolly jumps into the Zenith Blade. Winter's just blasting everyone. Buffon melts onto the Equalizer and the Gatling gun, and King Rolly does not waver and keeps going. Winter is undeterred as we see Tungus try to get a kill back. He jumps in with the Crisp card, doesn't even get one back, and it's a clean 5-for-0 ace. It's going to be the Baron buff, the Ocean Soul, the Wallet Dip. It's going to be everything as Nautilus get a clean 2-0 sweep of Fu Fam, ending Fu Fam's season in Prime Meta League. It's going to be victory for Team Nautilus as they drown the enemy in their first series.
And excellent work by Team Nautilus, really pulling it together over those couple games, particularly in the comeback last game. This game was pretty front-to-back Nautilus, but the comeback they made in the first game was pretty admirable. Really, really cool stuff that we got to see from them in their first Fearless draft. And frankly, Winter really, really proved us wrong in our pre-game analysis. He looked excellent in the second game and looked very, very solid in the first game after the early game kind of went sideways. I think that Nautilus just kind of out macroed Fu Fam on a really, really hard level. Unfortunately, that means Fu Fam's season is